All right, we're good now. Hey, I read the comments. That's good. Well, guys, you guys missed some good stuff. We're at 7 now. Luke 14:7. I knew I missed something. Yeah, my phone. I know, Jordan, quit texting me. When he noticed how the guests picked their places of honor at the table, he told them this parable. When someone invites you to a wedding feast, do not take the place of honor, for a person more distinguished than you may have been invited. If so, the host who invited both of you will come and say to you, give this person your seat. Then, humiliated, you will have to take the least important place. But when you are invited, take the lowest place, so that when your host comes, he will say to you, friend, move up to a better place. Then you will be honored in the presence of all the other guests. For all those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. So what are we getting at there?
Be humble.
Yeah. Okay. Who do you think he's talking to? No, who's he specifically? He's at this dinner table. You know, he got invited by these Pharisees. Who do you think he's talking to, though?
We haven't invited.
Not the Pharisees. He's talking to his disciples. Just right before this, when they're walking, they're fighting about who's the best, and you know, it's presumable that the disciples are here with him. Pharisees are there as well, but he's telling this parable to the whole room, but it's really directed at his disciples. And it's interesting, you know, we multiple times we go back to a wedding feast, or it's always a wedding. Well, what is the wedding? Who's getting married? It's Jesus and the church, right? So it's pretty important to take note that who he's talking to, what he's talking about, and just kind of paint a little picture. I like pictures. So, you know, the tables they got, and I just learned this today, is it's like a U shape, right? So you got a U, the host sitting right here, and everybody else is sitting around the outside. Closer to the host, you got the most honor, right? So it's like kids, you know, they want to be closest to the whatever. And so they're all fighting for it, saying, well, I'm better than that person, I go there. Well, exactly. There we go. Well, in this wedding, who's the host? God. In this parable of a wedding, right? And so what's that to say about his disciples when they're trying to get closest and they're arguing when they're walking on who's the best? Okay, well, where's the credibility lie? Right? Jesus says, first is last, last is first. What's this talk about? You know, it's these people saying they're more holy, but they're not accepting their wrongdoing, right? You're coming to the table of God, and last being first, the one who confesses their wrongdoings, who repents, is going to be first. So that's what this is really about. You know, I read the first time I read through this, it was, well, obviously he's talking about the Pharisees because they always think they're the best, but really it's not. You can name names. We're not live streaming.
Keep under them self-titles and drinking wealth, and they have all the gaudy trappings as well, and are spiritually, theologically, morally bankrupt. They're the ones who go, oh, I'm going to get yeah, what's he with that? Yes, sir.
Well,
On the Trinity Network should be watched with the fact itself, I think. So as much as people are the Trinitarian and actually heresy.
I know, guys, you don't gotta text me. So yeah, that's exactly right. That's right. So do we all understand the whole parable, the wedding, because Jesus is only talking in parables now, right? He told the Pharisees, I'm talking in parables, and you can only understand me if you're listening, right? And I think it's interesting, and this guy I was listening today made a great modern day comparison of parables. Like our lives are parables. We're here, we want to get to here, and there's something in the middle missing. That's our parable. And what we do as humans is we just make that missing piece. And how well does that work? Instead of waiting on God to fill it in for us. We're not supposed to understand all the parables until we are supposed to understand the parables. That's right. I think a lot of, and I'll just go ahead and say it, a lot of our denominational religions filled in their own gaps in the parables of Christianity, and that became a business. We do it in our lives, and I'm only making this point now is because this is just gonna be a whole bunch of parables here from on out, and it's a lot to dive deep into and not just read at face value, because that's not what it's there for. He says, I'm going to talk to you in parables. When it's your time to understand it, you're going to understand it. And if you're not listening to me, you're never going to understand it. You're not part of this. And that's exactly what it is. And he's saying that here in this next verse, which is funny, the reaction to it. So we'll get there into 12 here. Oh. Right.
Arrogant, where they thought they knew everything, and it was really, give me a sec. I'm gonna say something that should be easy to figure out, and you're gonna mull over it for 1,000 years.
Well, he talked straightforward long enough, and nobody caught on or paid attention. He said, all right, Jerusalem, I'm done with you. Parable time. Here we go. Yep. So 12. It is. That's right. That's exactly right. So parable is a means of teaching. Yeah. What else we got on that, guys? Move on 12 here. Making record time, too. All right. Then Jesus said to this host, when you give a luncheon or dinner, do not invite your friends, your brothers or your sisters, your relatives or your rich neighbors. If you do, they may invite you back, and so you will be repaid. But when you give a banquet, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind, and you'll be blessed. Although they cannot repay you, you will be repaid at the resurrection of the righteousness. So he's kind of like slapping this host around right now, right? But and that's a big no back then. But he don't care. He's just telling exactly what he's saying, what he's preaching. That's exactly what he was saying prior.
But it may pay you back, but the other way it says it will be.
Yeah, it's
Maybe to the person.
do we go out and do good expecting what we do to come back to us here,
You might.
right? And it's
Not you will. As in the next sentence says.
it's talking about this earthly glory, right? It's nothing. Yeah, exactly. It's fleeting in the long run. But he says all this, and it's very profound, and it's to the point to the guy hosting this. I mean, this guy who invited this guy who was sick with dropsy in there, and Jesus heals him on the Sabbath and sends him on his way. That's not why he invited that guy. He didn't invite him to be a good guy, to invite a sick guy. He invited him as a test to Jesus. He invited all the other people there as a show off.
guy who went down that whole luncheon with the guy who got healed.
So it is great what we're about to read here, 15, as he just tells them all this stuff about you're doing it wrong. This is what you need to be doing. Then they follow back with, when one of those at the table with him heard this, he said to Jesus, "Blessed is the one who will eat at the feast in the kingdom of God." You think he was shaking his head a little bit after that guy proclaimed that? He's like, did you not hear what I just said? It's, but that this is a guy, the guy who's saying this is still in the old mindset of we are the chosen people. And Jesus says, no. So then Jesus replies, a certain man was preparing a great banquet, and invited many guests. At the time of the banquet, he sent a servant to tell those who had been invited, come, for everything is now ready. But they all began to make excuses. The first one said, I've just bought a field and I must go and see it. Please excuse me. Another said, I've just bought 5 yoke of oxen and I'm on my way to try them out. Please excuse me. Still another said, I just got married, so I can't come. We'll stop there. Does this sound familiar?
Yesterday.
Excuses. No, so this whole thing, and again, this is a parable, but it's this guy is planning this big party, and he invites all these people, these prominent people, we'll call them in this case, his friends, and they're waiting, and then all of a sudden the feast is ready. He sends his servant out to go tell the people the feast is ready, and they're like, oh no, now's not a good time. And the excuses are hilarious. We got to put our minds in their time. The first one here, I just bought a field and I must go see it. You guys ever bought a house before looking at it? I actually have. It was not smart. I was in Africa when I bought it. So that's like,
So they weren't smart, just
because it's me, yeah. And the other one, I bought 5 yoke of oxen. I bought 10 oxen. I gotta go try them out. If you bought 10 oxen, you're probably never even gonna touch the oxen. You're gonna go test drive them or something. It's just such a ridiculous thought. And then the other one, I just got married, so I can't come. Somebody here may realize that it might be true, but no. But that goes back. It's actually Deuteronomy. There's law there that says a man who just got married spends a year where he's excused from pretty much anything. It sounds like a nice vacation aside from being with the wife, but he's going back to, he's actually relating back to the Old Testament there, and he's not accepting the new here. But what are we actually talking about here? A certain man, a host, God, preparing his feast, the kingdom. We're waiting for it to be done. It's not done right now. There's a certain amount of time that goes on before it's done. Then he sends his servant, Jesus, out to get the people he selected, the Jews, and they say, can't do it. Sorry. Busy. And he's telling this to these people, right? After the guy said, well, bless us for the kingdom. We'll feast in the kingdom. Well, no, listen here. And so then we get to the new way here in 21. The servant came back and reported this to his master. The owner of the house became angry and ordered his servant, go out and quickly into the streets and alleys of the town and bring me the poor, the crippled, the blind, and the lame. Sir, the servant said, what you ordered has been done, but there is still room. Then the master told the servant, go out to the roads and the country lanes and compel them to come in so that my house will be full. I tell you, not one of those who were invited will get a taste of my banquets. Boom. And he's saying this at this dinner party he's at after he just insulted the guy. I love it. But the point being is the people he promised turned on him, Jerusalem, And now he goes, well, get the poor and the sick and invite them. Well, we still got room. So he goes, okay, then go outside of where we are. Get the Gentiles. Get everybody who's willing to follow me, have faith in me. It's
No, it is a parable that speaks very directly. It's like, when we talk about the grafting of the old vine, the new vine,
Yeah.
and
yeah,
it talks about, these were the chosen, these were the ones that we invited to the table before they were ever born. They rejected. Fine. The ones that they rejected, besides rejecting us, they rejected all these others. Let's bring them in. Let's see.
I mean, it's a perfect parable, and I love the setting of the people who are there. You know, they go into this, they're first fighting for who's got more honor, and then he tells a parable to say, no, your honor's fake, your honor's made up in your own minds. You're going to be embarrassed when the master comes and tells you where to sit, because what you think, what accolades you think you have, does not matter. It is up to the host, God, where you are going to sit when we actually dine. Then the one guy confuses that up, apparently, and talks about, oh, yeah, it's going to be great when we're all dining in the kingdom. And he's like, no. Let me tell you another parable, because that one didn't stick. and then he just breaks it down perfectly. Tommy?
Well, it just seems like they assumed they were going to be accepted into heaven.
That's what they're
They
told
didn't
forever.
have to do anything. It was their elite club.
Yeah,
We don't want it.
that's exactly what they were told. And what did Paul think when he was blind down the road to Damascus? He thought he was doing all this killing and all this great for God.
Then he was.
And God smacked him and said, no, you're not doing the right thing, man.
Best mentor you could think of. And it's not worth anything.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, dross to it.
Well, I mean, that's it.
Garbage to it.
So, and honestly, you have to think, yeah.
Oh,
Oh, we'll get there at the end of the day. We'll be there in about 12 and a half minutes. But yeah, he's telling them in this parable his whole thing, the whole new way, and that's they probably didn't really understand it, but you also have to understand they've been told forever they're the chosen people, and he's like, no, I am the son of God. I'm here. I'm telling you, this is what's happening, and it's just not catching on. It's
Like they're not.
But, I mean,
yeah,
we talked about, again, we're already in the thought that the Messianic kingdom,
right.
that the Messiah was going to come and overthrow the Romans.
And was going to rule the kingdom here. Physical.
It's
You think of it like that?
And he's telling him it's dinner time. Come to you don't want to come? Okay. Well, I got room for other people too.
the other part of this is the poor, the maimed, the blind
Mhm.
was considered they were sinners.
they were unclean.
Yeah. Right. Like
Jews either. It's all these things because the Jews were under covenant. And if they did something go wrong with it, they were in serious trouble.
yeah.
They didn't care about other people.
That's it, you know, and that kind of with the guy we talked about earlier with the dropsy, and it was assumed he did something immoral to have that. Um, right,
That's
and yeah,
everyone else.
right,
What it is.
Yeah.
Gonna keep a banquet for ourselves.
yeah, and actually and it's just covered so briefly in here. It's not really covered in any of the other gospels that man being presented. Uh, I did a little research on that, and you get some weird Google. Don't Google that. But yeah, it's a goofy looking person because they got swelling all over, and it's a very noticeable thing. And this is not Jesus curing a blind person. It's a full physical transformation right in front of them. Right.
The woman with the issue of blood, even then, probably trying to tell. But he did very obvious, very blatant miracle. There was not anything else you could confuse people. We're not talking the shoe shift from the fake healers that are saying, no, leg, that's not even my leg, don't even, I don't have.
It's a full physical transformation right in front of them. Yeah, and even Luke, as a physician, I think could have kind of gone a little deeper on that. You know, maybe we'll talk to him one day. But yeah, because it's a huge thing when you think about the scene, and I would think that most people that were sitting there would be in awe. They've seen other miracles performed, but this is like totally different person standing in front of them. And he just says, "Ah, get on out of here."
Just like you.
Show's over.
Afraid he did all these things and they were afraid and he asked them to leave. So we
Yeah.
made the demons flee.
Right. Right.
They did.
Yeah. I like the parable though. It just kind of really sums up where their heads are at, where his teachings are at, and where they're just not crossing that missing link in all these parables, and parable being the life. So we'll dive into 25 here. Man, we are on schedule, guys.
Then we have a schedule.
Y'all didn't know. All right. Large crowds were traveling with Jesus. Turning to them, he said, "If anyone comes to me and does not hate their father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, even their own life, such a person cannot be my disciple. And whoever does not carry their cross and follow me cannot be my disciple." Pretty heavy, but what's really meant there, do we think? Is he really saying, is he really saying God first? He's not saying if you want to be my disciple. He's saying this to about 10,000 people that are following him around at this point. He's not saying, all right, time to go unfriend your mom and dad on Facebook. Don't talk to them. No, it's to be my disciple. You need to put God above all. Everything earthly means nothing. Carry your cross. Be prepared to die for me. I mean, it's kind of just at face, it's like, well, that's a little crazy and harsh. I mean, most people would, unless you really had a rough childhood, are gonna say, I can't do that. But it's his way of saying all this stuff here is second place if you want to be my disciple. It's not saying that you don't have faith. It's saying no, you're not my true disciple. And I did save a little quote here. Salvation is open to all who will come by faith, but discipleship is for believers willing to pay a price. Salvation means coming to the cross and trusting Jesus Christ, while discipleship means carrying the cross and following Jesus. Carrying the cross versus following or coming.
Well, this whole thing in history, you're really in life and death, because when the covenant's gonna be given up and these guys do follow Jesus, it's not gonna be free.
They told him that right off the bat. He said, "You ain't gonna get famous and rich off this." And, what? What you mean? They're writing a book about me.
And if we're not split families,
Yes.
it really is gonna.
And that was last week. He's talking about the division of families. So he's not saying you're not a believer. You're not my children. If you, yeah, it's a stark difference. I think that quote by Walter Weiserby really nails it. Yeah, thanks, Walter. I don't think he's around anymore. It's like 1915. So yeah, it's saying, you know, there's believers and the faithful that are willing to come to the cross, disciples, and he's talking to people in that time. He turned around and said this to the 10,000 people. Salvation means coming to the cross, while discipleship is carrying the cross. And we know that they did in the end. Spoiler alert. So
Say a movie like that. There's some groups, some places in the world today, and that get killed.
well, that's exactly right. And I mean that this whole chapter talks to that. And really it's kind of showing what we have for ourselves here in the West is we have every opportunity to be good Christians, be good, faithful. We have it just like the Jewish people had, yet it is more turned away and shunned away.
You know, tell people
Right.
first,
We have every opportunity. And we're seeing a little reserve. I'm seeing, maybe it's just my algorithm on my stuff, but I'm seeing more youth, you know, turning to Christ. I'm seeing more in the news. Maybe I'm watching the right news. I don't know. But it's a good thing. But when you think about it, we do have every opportunity. There's nobody knocking on our door saying, "You got a Bible, I'm going to kill you." You know, my other Bible study, we had a guy from some country I've never heard of nor can pronounce in Africa. And he was here as he had to flee his country.
Yeah.
He was the Christian pastor in his town. It's a town of 8,500 people, he said. Man, it was one of the smaller Baku Faso or something like that. I don't know.
Just a coup. Benin.
This yeah. It's all over there.
So it's all.
Yeah. But he was in our little Bible study and they killed his whole, either kidnapped or killed his whole town. They made sure he escaped and got asylum here in the US and ended up at my Bible study down the road in Seabrook at a barbershop. But what,
So that's how you.
yeah, Bible study barbershop. Yes. I got some other but it was just really eye-opening and it really hits on this point and it kind of makes me think of, well, Jerusalem was given the keys, they were given the law, they were given everything, and yet they still said no. And we kind of are in the same situation. Most of us grew up in a religious household. Now, that being said, you know, you ask somebody that says they're a Catholic, well, what makes you a Catholic? Well, you know, I was raised a Catholic. Well, God doesn't have grandchildren, he has children.
Yeah.
So what makes you what you are? We get that a lot, you know, like all the people coming out of our church. Well, I couldn't go there. I'm a Catholic. Okay, what makes you a Catholic? Is it Christmas and Easter?
That's CEO.
CEO Christian.
and Easter.
Yeah.
Little don't know any better, so you follow. And the more we study and the more we learn, we're like, wait a minute. They gypped us. They cheated us. They didn't teach
Right.
us. Yeah.
But we are, I would say there's a parallel between what Jerusalem was happening, what we just read through, and what we read through last week, and what we're dealing with now today. Is we're just, as a nation, a lot of people are just turning away from what is clearly right in front of you. There's nobody with an axe at your door saying you cannot believe. There's nobody pointing a gun at us. There are in other places, and guess what? Their faith is strong. So, and yeah, I mean, that's another little rabbit hole we can get down is, you know, as Christians, we're not meant to be soft. You know, and the when somebody slaps you on a cheek, give them the other cheek. I think that's misrepresented. I think that's saying if somebody slaps you on the cheek, give them the other cheek so they think about what they did and gives them a chance to really reflect on what they're actually doing. But it's not, yeah, it's not saying bow down. We need to hold strong with our faith, stronger now than ever, especially given the opportunities we have. I think everybody's here doing a good job. Yeah, well, I get a rabbit hole. Y'all proud? All right.
And if they wanted to smack you around, that's all she wrote.
Yeah.
And you raise your hand to them, they would put it for you.
Yes. The Romans were ruthless. The word execution or excruciation comes from them. Excruciated. Somewhere I read that. Yeah, so we covered, you know, 25 through 27, where it's not saying you gotta hate everybody to be a faithful servant. But saying God comes first. Interesting way of putting it. 28. Suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it? For if you lay the foundation and are not able to finish it, everyone who sees it will ridicule you, saying, this person began to build and wasn't able to finish. Or suppose a king is about to go to war against another king. Won't he first sit down and consider whether he is able with 10,000 men to oppose the oncoming or the one coming against him with 20,000? If he is not able, he will send a delegation while the other is still a long way off and will ask for terms of peace. In the same way, those of you who do not give up everything, you cannot be my disciples. That's right. You have to be all in. It's not 1 foot in the door, 1 foot out. And we covered this earlier in Luke when the person's saying, oh, I want to follow you, but give me a week because I got to bury my dad. Discussed that dad wasn't even dead yet. He's like, no, you want to follow me? It's drop everything and come follow me. You want to build a tower? Make sure you got the funds to complete it. Otherwise, you're going to look foolish. You want to go to war? Make sure you can go to war. Or the other side of this, you got 10,000, they got 20,000. Make sure that you're going to put 110% in, and your 10,000 guys can beat the 20,000 guys. Either if you can't, make a peace offering. It's going 100% in on discipleship and not doing it foolishly. Right? Nobody else got anything? Why?
Hypothetically, what do you think the difference was then between a believer and a disciple? The apostles were never there, the ones that were writing schools.
Yeah.
But a disciple then versus a believer.
A disciple versus a believer back then, hypothetically, I mean, it's someone who's, like he exactly specifically said, willing to drop everything, follow him, and die for him. We're not talking just a Messianic Jew at this point. It's, well, doer or not, I don't even know if that's the right way, or the right way I would put it. But a warrior versus let's try to see if I can metaphor those. Here's how I'll put it. You got a football team, right? You got a guy on the football team who's not playing. He gets benched. He's still on the team, right? He's just not playing.
He's not first string.
He's not first string. So that guy, we're all on the same team. Now the one guy's out there doing a lot more work than the guy sitting on the bench, still on the same team. Is that fair enough, Brian? Or were you going a different direction?
That's getting, once they're on the same team, then they were the ones that were going to be killed. Whether you're playing or not, you've got the colors on the shirt, the mark of whatever.
Yeah, you're saying at the time, yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah.
They weren't killed following Jesus. They weren't killed just for following Jesus.
After he gets crucified.
They were killed for saying he was resurrected. Right? Yeah. He knows. Yes. 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 Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, a lot. Yeah. Yeah. It really is. Yeah. It's funny to kind of put yourself in those shoes there.
Good analogy would be like, I follow a lot of Norse mythology, but kind of the difference between being a Viking warrior and a Viking berserker, right?
I don't know what those are.
Yeah, the berserkers have a lot higher level of commitment.
Oh, okay.
They're not afraid to die.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's a rough analogy.
That's fair enough. So, 14 we covered. Jesus explained that you can do good on the Sabbath. Explain to them, well, your son falls in a hole. You're going to leave him down there? You're going to wait it out? No, absolutely not. And it even says an ox. Is an ox less than a man or greater than a man? And then we get to the wedding, the marriage of Jesus and the church, and explaining that, you guys were invited to the party and you made an excuse and didn't show. So now the doors are open.
What to say?
Right.
Oh, I got.
14, be 34 and
I wasn't done yet. I got time.
30.
Me.
You got 15 minutes to get this one out. Is that on it? Is that on your?
There was no itinerary. Anyways, as I was saying. But anyways, we get through. The doors are open. We get through the cost of discipleship. That there's still faith. You're still on the team. There's a difference there, but it's Then we'll get into the salt here. Salt is good, but if it loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is fit neither for the soil nor for the manure pile. It is thrown out. Whoever has ears to hear, let them hear. So,
Thank you for the salt.
So there's two fun things that good salt will preserve and season. Back then, all of their salt, or 99% of it, was either mined, taken straight from the sea, or the ocean close by, and they would gather. Well, there were two different salts that could happen. There was one that looked like regular salt. They had none of the right form. Didn't taste right, didn't preserve. But you think it was salt, look, table salt, looking at it, but it was a small salt.
well, there's also the way they stored salt. If it's stored out in the open, it actually, I forget the correct scientific word, but the properties of it separate. And talking about it's neither fit for soil, they actually did use salt, the little teeny bits, because there's the minerals in it that was good for the soil. Unlike how we think now with salt there and vegetation is bad, but little bits was good. And yeah, and it would also preserve the manure. So
Salt was a very precious commodity back then.
right.
It was before pre-refrigeration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything had to be preserved or eaten. Right away.
Yeah, I had some notes in there actually about this, I guess. So I shouldn't have skipped it.
He already went over in his head, I figured you'd get it up, so.
Yeah, if a person is to be a disciple, that person must be useful to God as salt is to men. Like salt, the disciple must bring life and rejuvenation. The disciples must be an antidote to decay, but it does these things by standing out, by being like Christ in a world so unlike Christ. And discipleship comes with a cost, though it brings eternal rewards.
We take salt for granted because it is so abundant to us now. I mean, we waste it. Then it was where we get the word salary. We paid more than salt was that valuable and it was that necessary. That back then it was very valuable money. If you want the salt of the earth, you have a purpose, you have a use, and you're valuable.
Going for sure back then.
But he's really getting at the point that, you know, salt is only good if it actually has the properties of salt, not if it just looks like salt. Boom. What makes you a Christian? Well, salt. Are you really? Or are you saying? Whoever has ears to hear, let them hear. Yeah, I'm glad we didn't skip that. Thanks, guys. All right, we got a little bit of time left. A couple weeks ago, we had, I forget who it was, that shared like a praise type thing of something that happened in their life. It was, I think, a neighbor they had talked to, and they were able to talk to him in a different way from something they had learned in here. I just kind of want to, did anybody have anything, a praise thing this week that they wanted to share maybe? Nobody? God didn't do anything for anybody this week?
Every day.
God did everything, every minute of every hour.
And every day. Since the last. Good deeds, what?
Just something that you noticed in your life. He said, man, I'm glad that I learned and got closer to God because I saw this. I saw this miracle. I recognized it.
The floor is yours.
Right.
Church on Sunday. And our youngest child, who had had very dramatic incident years ago, turned her life back. Awesome. So happy. I just about this week.
Right.
You know, never as happy as you're If you have 10 children, you're never as happy as 10. But I'm so happy. I've been happy this way. And I praise them. Amen.
Well, that's great.
It is
The second week of that.
In some way.
Peace.
Back to Christ, but we're not, she didn't know to come. But she said, I want to come back.
All right.
My oldest daughter. For sometimes it's gone a year later. And when I see her, they said my parents on Christmas, I'd see her, I was looking forward to December 20th because I knew I'd see her. Because she would come with my boyfriend to my parents' ranch. But she won't come over to see me because her dad, so she won't come see me. But circumstances being what they kind of ended up. She ended up renting a house for me, and I said, "Yeah, I tried to get her over here. I'll try to get her." The last 2 days, yesterday and today, I got to go and talk to her, and they were
Awesome.
I'm pretty happy too. So happy Mother's Day.
Sister-in-law still thinks you're the most best preacher she ever saw.
All right. Okay.
I don't know what that is.
Hi, Roy's sister-in-law. Oh, boy. Okay.
You're a person.
All right, perfect.
What, no? Brimstone?
Well, we did. What you talking about?
Right.
I toned it down on Sunday. All right. Okay, guys. That was great. Thanks for putting up with me there.
Thanks, Mackie.
Let's go ahead and pray out and we can get on with our nights. Dear Lord, thank you for this night again. Thank you for keeping your door open for us even when we don't deserve it. Keeping that door open when we strayed away for us to come back and our family members to come back and be your children, be your servants, Lord. Thank you for just forgiving all our sins, dying for us, and just everything that just makes us whole. Lord, humble us, keep us in the present, keep us looking towards what's next, what's really important, Lord. Let us leave here just full hearts, full minds, just focused on you. Continue this week and do good in your name, Lord. Pray all these things in your name. Amen.
Good job.